We're back again. We're looking at the profit maximizing behavior of monopoly. And again, monopoly faces a downward sloping demand, the market demand. And the margin of revenue is going to fall, it's going to lie inside the demand line, and it's going to be steeper as it falls twice as fast as the demand line falls. Because the profit maximizing rule is you want to produce where marginal cost equals marginal revenue. And here's your marginal cost falling. I don't want to stop there. That's the worst point to stop at, because that would be where I maximize my losses. I've stopped at exactly the worst spot, because this is where I make my money, when the marginal cost is below marginal revenue. And I follow it up, and right there is where marginal cost equals marginal revenue. Drop a line straight down, and this is my profit maximizing output. Call that QM, where the monopoly will produce. And then it wants to charge the highest price it can to sell QM, and it has to work with the market demand, because that comes from the consumers. The consumers decide their demand. And so they go up to the market demand, and they go over to the dollar axis. This is your dollars. This is your output. And so we're going to charge this price right here, call it PM. Now the question is, does Monopoly make any profit? And the answer is yes, because my price is going to be above my average total cost. And I know that because my average total cost is right here. It falls until marginal cost cuts through it, and then average total cost starts rising. And right there is the average total cost of making each one of these QM amounts. So the height there would be my average total cost. Take that amount over to the dollar axis again. Dollar axis, sorry. And this would be my average total cost for the monopoly. And so we're making this much profit per unit. This is my total cost down here. This is the average total cost times that amount. My revenue is all this. Price times QM. Price times quantity. And then this part here is my profit. And if this was a firm in a competitive market, then I would ask a question, what would happen to this profit in the long run? And for a firm in a perfectly competitive market, the profit will go away as competition comes in to compete with us. But because this is a monopoly, that competition cannot come in because we have a barrier. So maybe we are the only seller of this product. Maybe it's a new pharmaceutical drug that just came out. It could be an anti-cancer drug. It could be a drug that reduces blood pressure, get your blood pressure down a bit, and we have a 20-year patent on this drug, and therefore we could charge with any price we want to, and the price we want to charge is where we maximize our profits, and these profits will stay as long as our barrier stays. Eventually, the patent will expire, in which case we may try to prolong that patent, that's exclusive right for using legal maneuvering for maybe 2 or 3 more years. But eventually that patent will fall, and we will have to allow competition to come in, and that's when you get your generic drugs. Now, I don't want you to get the assumption that monopolies always make profits, because they don't. Most of the patents that have been filed with the patent office are still valid over the last 20 years, but most of them are not used commercially because they can't make any money, or they don't make enough money on their patents to justify going into production. Either the product is too expensive to make, or the demand would not be great enough, and therefore most of those patterns are not being utilized. Even though they're potentially monopolies, if you can't make any profit at it, then there's no reason to go into production. So here what I did is I changed one thing. So if you look at this graph here, my marginal cost is the same, my demand and margin revenue are the same. What I did was that I took the average total cost and I just moved it up. And I put it so it crosses over there with marginal cost. So it's like this. If I only change the average total cost and not the marginal cost, that means I only change fixed costs. Fixed costs are higher for this firm than they were for the other firm. If my marginal cost is the same, then that means all my variable costs are the same. And the only reason for the average total cost to be higher in this case would be to have higher fixed cost. Profit maximizing rule is the same. Marginal cost equals margin revenue exactly as it did before. Here's my same monopoly output. Here's my same monopoly price. Oops. Price up demand. And so this is still my total revenue. Price times quantity, still this large rectangle. But because I raised the average total cost, and I raised it on purpose so the average total cost curve hits exactly the same point as the demand is, the average total cost is actually tangent to the demand right there, then my average total cost is going to be the same dollar amount. Before, average total cost was down here, and when it was down there, I think it was down here somewhere. Yeah, it was right there. We can make lots of profit. But now it's up there. So my total cost is exactly the same. And therefore my profit is going to be 0, which is okay. It's not great. Profit being 0 is what you would make in a perfectly competitive market. And could I have made this monopoly have a loss? Yeah, I could just make average total cost higher. That's average total cost now, then it'd be up here, and now you'd have a loss. So in the short run, understand a monopoly can earn economic profits, economic losses, or normal profit. And normal profit is when your economic profit is 0. So in that case, it's the same as a firm in a competitive market. Being a monopoly, again, does not guarantee profits, positive profits. It does guarantee that if you have positive profits, the profits will stay. Because, again, competition is not allowed to come in. As I mentioned earlier, I was talking about Polaroid. Again, they had a monopoly on Instamatic cameras due to patent protection. But then again, that monopoly didn't mean anything anymore after digital cameras came out. And now the demand for Polaroid cameras collapsed. Now in the long run, the monopoly will maintain its position as long as it earns at least normal profit, just like a firm in a competitive market. And so they'll build a company size that will maximize its long run profits, provided it can at least maintain at least one barrier to entry to maintain its monopoly position. And then it will maximize its short-run profits, day-to-day operations, where marginal cost equals marginal revenue, or again, as close as possible without the marginal cost being greater. Now, sometimes you have weak barriers that it doesn't really give you a pure monopoly, and so a weak barrier is gives a firm more problems to deal with. They have to be again more involved in the company. If you're a pure monopoly, you're pretty much protected. Not much you have to worry about. But a weak barrier where firms can't come in and compete to some degree, then you have to be again dynamic. You have to come up with maybe if you have a good product, you have to again don't just be complacent. Try to find ways to improve your products. So again, you could avoid new competition coming in as much as possible. And this sort of is what Apple does. Apple doesn't sit and just stay pat. It's always trying to develop new products, update their products, come up with new products, and again try to be try to satisfy consumers and try to be the one that has a dominant position based on the fact you sell good products. And they do have good products. They're not cheap. They're quite expensive, but people like their products because they're good quality products. Okay, let me stop there and come back here for part 3.